When it comes to the fight for civil rights in Los Angeles, few people have seen the struggle up close for as long as Danny Bakewell Sr.
That's right. Bakewell was president of the Brotherhood Crusade for 3 decades, one of LA's top civil rights groups, and is now its chairman. He is also the publisher of the Los Angeles Sentinel and chairman emeritus of the National Black Newspaper Publishers Association.
And Danny joins us live tonight to share his insights in the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Danny, thanks for being with us tonight. First off, you know, the streets of the nation have been full of people for 2 weeks now demanding change. How powerful do you believe this movement is? How far can it go?
Well, it's very, very powerful, Pat. And, you know, you can see that by the people in the streets of all colors, you know, all ethnicities, you know, all religions. I mean, people have really, really taken this serious. I've said on many occasions on your show, you can only oppress and suppress people for so long, and eventually there'll be an explosion. This was an explosion. Who would have known that it would take, you know, George Floyd to do that, although it was a horrendous thing that we all witnessed. But I'll tell you, it is quite a spectacle to see the young people coming out, you know, in mass. And of course, leading that thrust is Black Lives Matter and Sister Melina. And I give them a lot of credit for that because we needed that. They rose to the occasion. I think we all have met the moment. But I caution, we have to now see in the actual demonstrations of action what will be done.
Well, speaking of that, Mr. Bakewell, many are calling for deep changes to the criminal justice system and to policing. So what changes do you believe are essential for that?
Well, I appreciate you asking that question because while there's a lot of talk about the budget for LAPD and amending their budget, taking money away from them, I support all of that. There are things that we need. If the money's there, take it. But I do caution everybody to recognize we need police. We need police in our community. I don't want anybody to think that the black community is saying we don't need police. We don't need police that misuse and abuse. We need them to protect and to serve. But I think one of the things I would ask everybody to be conscious of is that if you want to change the behavior of the Los Angeles or any police department throughout the country, you've got to take note of the Police Bill of Rights. That is their Bible. That's their credo. Many people have never heard of it. I ask all of your listeners and all of your people looking tonight to look up, Google the Police Bill of Rights. The police officers have rights that are not accorded any of us as citizens. One of the reasons there's this consistent, you know, turnover of people, killing black people, black men in particular, and not being held accountable because statutory law in California says there is a process that they have to go through, and you cannot fire them. If they kill somebody, they take them off active duty, they send them home, they pay them, they can't talk to them for 2 weeks, and then they provide them with top legal counsel. This is the police association. Top legal counsel. Then once they get their stories together, then they come back and they talk to the, if you and I shot somebody, we'd be arrested immediately. They'd take us down to the police headquarters, and they would then begin to interrogate us at a time when we may be confused and traumatized. But the standards for them are quite different, and we've got to change that. I'm talking to Shirley Weber in the California legislature and Reggie Jones-Sawyer, who's head of public safety, and asking them to introduce a bill. One, maybe to repeal the Police Bill of Rights, and one to absolutely talk about introducing new bill that would eliminate that unfair playing field where they are treated one way and we're treated another way.
You know, Danny, talking about that, the Congress is taking up legislation. Even President Trump is talking about having some kind of reform. So maybe there is a possibility in what you say in terms of changing the Bill of Rights, if that is possible. I hear you saying that you're talking with a couple of people about that. Now, I want to ask
Well,
you.
you have to introduce it in the legislature because it's California law, remember. If they don't follow the law, then that's how these officers all get off. And it's unfair on its face. Any attorneys who are willing to help with them, they should call the LA Sentinel or call the Brotherhood Crusade. We need firepower on this. We need some of the best minds around to make sure we deal with this properly.
Well, that's certainly something that we will follow up on. So I hope you keep us abreast of that, Danny. You know, the mayor wants to take, speaking of funds, which you say you agree with, $150 million from the LAPD.
Well, I don't agree. No.
Go ahead. I know you don't want to get rid of the police department.
No, I don't believe that. I'm willing and I'm supportive of taking whatever the mayor and others feel are necessary to take from the police department.
Okay.
But the things that they're going to fund are things we need funded, whether they take the money from the police department or not.
Okay, that was my question. That was a build up to my question, Danny. $250 million. They're taking $150 from LAPD, another 100 from other departments. My question to you is, how should that money best be used, and is it enough?
I believe it should best be used by putting it into jobs. I do think that you can change the complexion of the police department. I think it's only 5% of the arrests and convictions come with physical crime that's being responded to. I think a lot of people are sick. There's domestic violence that's going on. There's a lot of petty crimes going on. They don't require an officer with a gun going out there with that mentality that we've got to get them. There's a way to reduce the tension. There's a way to make sure that we try to bring out the best in people, as opposed to going out there with the intent of administering deadly force if they don't comply with us. I mean, we killed George Floyd over $20. I mean, give me a break.
And Mr. Bakewell, LA exploded, of course, in 1992 after the Rodney King beating. You helped with that healing. Policing changed, many believe, for the better. What do you think still needs to change here in LA?
Well, I think that we've got to penetrate the system. That's why I'm so vigilant and so passionate about changing the Police Bill of Rights. I'm telling you, no matter what we do in terms of cutting back funding from the police department, if we don't deal with this Police Bill of Rights, there's not much that's going to change. I mean, you've got a system. They shot a man at the LA Fitness up in Hollywood. He was in the bathroom. He had come out of the shower. He didn't have a gun. He had no clothes on. He was ranting and raving, and yes, he was distraught. I don't know what the situation was. But to make the point, they ultimately shot him and killed him. They could have just turned out the lights, locked him in the bathroom, and waited till the next morning. He couldn't go anywhere. He got everybody out the building. He couldn't harm anybody. We're not thinking. We're not using basic judgment. And black people are sick and tired of being the victims of LAPD. That has got to change, and I'm committed going forward. And the thousands of people who have come in the streets are committed to making sure that that doesn't continue to happen.
All right, well, Danny,
black, white, Latino.
and we know you have, if anybody can reach folks, you can. And we know you can reach the LAPD as well, because you have a relationship that expands. So we are going to be trying to stay on, everything okay? We're going to try to stay on top of what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we use the tools that are in our grasp to make sure that we make significant changes to the Los Angeles Police Department.
And the
I mean, significant change.
LAPD Bill of Rights. All right. Well, I know you're going to keep us up to date with that. And again, want to thank you so much, Danny, for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much.
I will be back.
Yes, you will.